Hello everyone, good afternoon. Hello, hello guys. I'm audible. Cool. Okay, so we have went through prototype model and spiral model yesterday. So all these models are good. Depending upon what kind of requirement you have, you can follow either of the model. But the major problem in these models are the rework, basically. If you can address that, the major problem is that we have to do rework if we have any sort of uh, defect in the documents like design and requirement. Basically, that will flow in your development, and basically that will create a problem that will create a problem and that will lead to a defect in the actual software. And then when you propose that same software with the defect to the customer, which is being made depending upon the wrong collection of requirement and wrong designing, customer rejects it. And basically eventually what happens, you need to do rework and you need to create a fresh version of the software in order to deliver it to the customer. एवरीवन गॉट दैट. यही प्रॉब्लम है अभी तक जितने भी मॉडल पढ़े सारे मॉडल में यही प्रॉब्लम है कि रिक्वायरमेंट्स इज नॉट टेस्टेड एंड डिजाइंस आर नॉट टेस्टेड एंड दैट्स व्हाई we actually end up having what we actually end up having rework. So VNV model overcome this particular drawback with parallel testing and parallel development process. So VNV stands for verification and validation. देखो verification itself is a process of reviewing the documents. So ये verification ये like बहुत widely used term है और बहुत widely asked question भी है in interviews. What is the difference between verification and validation? Okay. So basic idea is that if your interview asks what is the difference between verification and validation, you should know that verification stands for. Can anyone go on mute, please? I think someone's mic is buzzing. Anjali, do you have any question?
No, sir.
Okay. So the basic idea is that verification stands for reviewing the documents. It could be any kind of document, even the code review, white box testing. That is also being considered as a verification process. Okay, if you are reviewing the requirement CRS, that is also a verification process. That if you are reviewing SRS, that is also a verification process. Reviewing HLD and LLD is also a verification process, because eventually all these things are nothing but the documents. And if you are reviewing the documents, that comes under verification. What is validation? Validation is the actual testing wherein you open up the software, do some sort of action and try to validate whether the software is actually being developed properly or not. So actual testing is basically your validation. Okay, are we clear, guys? Yes, no, anything?
Yes,
Cool.
sir.
Cool. So now comes let's go through the structure of this VNV model. VNV model basically starts with the requirement collection only, but the problem here is not the problem actually. The solution here is wherein in other models you are not doing any sort of requirement verification or design verification. Here in VNV model, we try to do what? We try to test the requirement, we try to test the design. So the defect leakage, so basically the downfall of defect from here, from requirement to coding and then testing, will not be there. So how it works? It works in this way. First of all, first stage is basically your collection of CRS. Basically business analyst will collect the CRS and you will do what? Basically parallelly you will do what? Review the CRS. Now it's obviously I've told you CRS is a business level language and you will not be understanding that CRS properly. So the basic idea is that the test lead or someone who has continuous experience of that domain will be involved in reviewing the CRS whether it is accurately being captured or not. ठीक है? So ये CRS क्या होगा यहाँ पर collect हो जाएगा with the help of business analyst, and the test leads will be involved in basically reviewing the CRS. Now parallelly with that, you will also write your acceptance test plan and acceptance test cases. Now you know that what is test cases. Basically you find out the scenario, you document it and get it reviewed. This is the process you are following in order to create a test cases. So acceptance testing test cases is we are creating it here. That is the third point. And the second point is basically creating a test plan, writing a test plan. What is a test plan? Test plan is a document which captures all the future testing activities. सो अगर देखो हर प्रोजेक्ट का एक टेस्ट प्लान डॉक्यूमेंट होता है. एवरी प्रोजेक्ट हैज अ टेस्ट प्लान डॉक्यूमेंट. हम लोग इसका लाइक थियोरेटिकली पूरा पढ़ेंगे लाइक लास्ट क्लास में व्हाट इज टेस्ट प्लान, एंड इट्स जस्ट अ theory thing, document thing. But basically what exactly the document is, document is basically the planning document which covers all the future testing activity, even the whole project, or if you are making a specific test plan. देखो यहाँ पर specific test plan बना हुआ है acceptance testing का. तो basic idea is that ये acceptance testing के point of view से जो भी planning करनी है आपको, वो सारी चीज document करोगे आप यहाँ under second point. Now basically क्या क्या तुम plan करते हो under test plan? You plan a lot of things. Basically when to start your acceptance testing, when to end it, the scheduling, the basic and how number of test engineer will be involved in this, what are the processes we are following under test acceptance testing, and all. Basically we have four different approaches, right? So which approach we are following, what is the process? If you are raising a defect, who will raise the when the person is raising the defect, whom he should assign to, and basically after fixing, who should retest first, and then deployment will happen and it will be retested by the customer also. The basic idea is that what should be the process. So each and every planning thing which you want to plan, you can mention under this particular test plan document with respect to acceptance testing. Okay, so this will be your first stage. This go in this way, right? ये और ये जो middle वाला line होता है, it goes parallelly. This goes parallelly, this goes parallelly, this goes parallelly, and then coding will happen, software will come to an existence, and all the testing will happen after that. So the flow is in this way. These two things goes parallelly, these two things goes parallelly, these two things goes parallelly, these two things goes parallelly. Then the software will come to coding, software will come to an existence, and then all the types of testing will happen. This is the flow. That's why it is called as V and V. Basically this is one V and this is another V. Okay. So basic idea is that first stage is basically collecting the CRS, converting the reviewing the CRS, writing the test plan of acceptance testing, and writing the test cases of acceptance testing. Right after that, CRS will be converted into SRS. It will be handed over to you. Now you have to review SRS against the CRS. Now basically if you are like a middle level test engineer also, like you have like 3 to 4 years of experience, you are capable enough to review this CRS, review this SRS against the CRS. Mostly you need to take care of everything is being converted into SRS or not. Nothing should be missing. And if it is converting, the core competency of that particular topic is covered or not. For an example, if the CRS is talking about interest, so you need to check whether the but that particular, for an example, not interest, loans, home loan. So for an example, if you are seeing it in SRS, you need to check whether under loans, home loans feature is there or not, and also the functionality is covered properly or not. What is the amount of interest and what are the proposals of the particular bank, it is being covered in the SRS or not. Okay, are we clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Cool. Now after that, you will do the system test plan. You will try to like basically plan your system testing, and how exactly it will going to be executed, or when it will going to be executed, who all will be involved, and what will be the processes of in order to execute that particular system testing. And you will also involve in writing system test cases. You will try to derive scenarios and write system test cases. Okay, give me a second, guys. Yeah. Hello. Yeah, I'm back. So the basic idea is that you will try to do what system test plan and system test cases. Similarly, when this particular stage got finished, they start working on HLD, high level design. Now, high level design is something you will not get involved in, but your test leads will be involved, and they will also try to review the high level architecture of that particular application. You will be involving in writing that integration test plan meanwhile, and integration test cases. So this is the process which we are following. Basically, the more critical you will see in your organization also, like if it is a more critical feature, more critical task, it will be usually handled by test leads. And if it is like less critical or medium severity thing, you might be handling those kind of tasks. Okay, now coming up to HLD, will get reviewed. So basically the problem which were there in earlier models wherein we are not testing these requirement and design, that is being overcome by VNB. And then HLD will be like basically converted, or not exactly converted, LLD will be basically made. HLD is a different thing, LLD is a different thing. LLD will be created. Now low level design and high level design are done, and you will be reviewing both. First you will review high level design, and then you will review low level design. Apart from that, in this LLD stage, you will do what? Writing of functional test cases and writing of functional test plan. How and when you will execute functional test cases, and how and when you will do functional testing, and basically who all will be involved, what is the number of engineers will be involved in order to conduct the functional testing, and which environment, and all the things basically regarding to that you can actually document under test plan, which environment you will be connecting in order to do the functional testing, and how deployment will happen, etc., etc. Okay, right after that you will take a pause. Basically you will be having some pending works from here, you will be completing that. Right after LLD stage, coding will happen. So under coding you will not have a lot of work. You will try to accommodate these things, you will try to groom your test cases, you will try to drive more scenarios. Okay, once coding is done, software came to an existence, they will do unit testing. Unit testing is very very important. Until and unless, this is something which our tester, we as a tester needs to check first, that whether unit testing coverage is good or not, because it eventually reflects that what is the health of the software. If the unit test percentage, the test, basically they will write test cases in order to check whether the script or code are written properly or not. And if this white box testing is not at good level, basically you will see a lot of defects in your application eventually. So whenever they give you the build, you just go and you can frankly ask them that whether the unit testing is done on that particular software or not. If it is not done, if you see that they are not doing it, try to recommend them to do the unit testing, because it is actually followed in everywhere in the industry. Everyone used to do unit testing when they are deploying the software to the testers. Before that they need to complete unit test cases. Okay, so they will do the coding, software will came to an existence, and before pushing the software to do, they need to do unit testing, basically white box testing, and then they will push the software to you. Once you get the software, you will just try to execute each and every test cases you have written in this period of time. You will start with functionality testing, then integration testing, then system testing, and then acceptance testing. Once after the acceptance testing, you move the software to the production. That's the process. While doing the functional integration, system acceptance, you will find a lot of bug. When you find the bug, you will raise it to the developer will fix it, and then give the fresh build to you, and you will continue executing the test cases which you have written here over the period of time. Okay, and then eventually once you are done with all these things, you will give QA sign off saying that these are the documents, these are my test cases, these are my test plans and this is my test coverage and etc etc. You will give all the proof. These are the videos of my execution, these are the screenshots of my execution that it is working actually fine. You will provide all the proof to the client and you will finally move the software to the production. Basically you will not move, there will be a specific person to move the software to the production, but your job is to do the execution and give the proper proof to the basically client. Okay, we call it as QA sign off process. Quality assurance sign off process means tester sign off process, wherein you propose all of your evidences to the client so that they get to know that what is the level of your testing and you have actually tested everything. Okay, it includes a lot of document, includes test plan, test cases, etc etc. These are the deliverables, but we'll cover it thoroughly under test plan. There is a specific point called deliverables there, we'll cover it there. Okay, are we clear guys, this whole process?
Sir, besides these testings like functional integration, system and acceptance, what else a test engineer have to do in this model?
In this model, this is the generic one. Like they will tell you that these are the testing we have to do. This is how they have designed the model. But basically, you will not follow any of this model strictly. For an example, if you need to do compatibility testing, you need to make some space here in order to do that compatibility testing, correct?
Yes, sir.
You need to make some space, right? It's not like it is not there in the model, you'll not do it. If your particular project requires it, so you need to tweak your process some of at some extent and try to basically accommodate those type of testing there. So it depends upon your basically leadership. They will take up the call where exactly you need to do it, and this is how they continuous building on new models, right? So if you like invested some time and you try to figure out how to tweak this model so that you can accommodate few more types of testing in here, you end up creating a new model. You can propose it to the SDLC model and you can have it under as your SDLC basically. So it's not hard like strictly followed model, any of the model, even in the spiral model, in the prototype model. If you feel that according to my need I need to do some changes, there are no hard and fast rule that you can't make those changes. Just you will do it. You will try to follow your own way. Follow it in your own way. Okay. So if you feel that yeah, compatibility testing is needed, I want to do it, and after the system testing, go ahead and do it because there is no other option, right? Got it?
This HLD, LLD, and coding and all, these will be done by the developer.
Yeah, HLD will be done by senior architect. LLD will be done by designers mostly and senior developers. Coding will be throughout done by the developers. After that, unit testing will be also done by developers. From here, you need to do your task. Okay.
And sir, CRS and SRS?
CRS and SRS will be done by business analysts. This review thing you have to take care as a tester. This
Yes,
test
sir,
case and creation and review and all. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Got it, everyone? Any other question, guys? Anyone? No? Cool. So let's go through the advantages and disadvantages. The biggest advantage here is requirements are tested. Why this is a biggest this is your biggest advantages. Basically, if you see the requirement and design defects, there is a lot of rework seen in the earlier model. Mostly you'll see that there is a lot of rework because whenever they used to collect the requirement, sometime what happens, right, sometimes they are not even bothering about their core competency, their core willingness of the software. It's not about just words, it's about observing the client and trying to understand what exactly client is willing to have, right? So sometimes that part is missing. Most of the time that part is missing. If your business analyst is not that experienced person, then basically this will happen. So if you, in order to test the requirement, you will end up basically depending upon your own domain experience, will end up basically raising some sort of concern on the requirement, and they will eventually do what, when a tester raises a concern on the requirement, that particular tester or developer, that particular thing will be going to business analyst. Business analyst will get it confirmed by the customer. So while this process, if you feel that something is not accurate, you can raise the concern, they will confirm it, and you will help in improving the quality of the software beforehand it came to an existence itself, right? So that is basically the biggest advantage of this particular model. Since developer and testers are working parallelly, the work will get completed faster. But this is a basic idea, right? When this all things, this all process, designing and requirement collection is happening parallelly, you are working on your testing. How? Basically, this test case creation and test plan creation things you are doing in other model only after the coding is done, right? After the coding is done, then only, or the coding gets started, then only you are investing your time in order to create the test cases. So that particular part amount of time will be saved as you are doing that work beforehand. So parallelly this development and testing is happening. Development is not exactly coding. Development is I mean to say that it is about the project development. It is about the software development, not the coding. So that here the software development is happening parallelly, you are working on the testing. So you are actually saving a lot of time here while creating the test cases and test plan beforehand you get the software, right? So when you get the software, you just have to execute. So it saves a lot of time as parallel development and testing is happening. That's another advantage. Downfall of defects is reduced since every stages are being tested, designs are being tested, and basically your requirements are being tested. So every stage has basically some amount of testing in it, right? So if it has some amount of testing, it eventually the downfall of defect from CRS, if there is a defect in CRS, the ratio of falling that defect from CRS to SRS will be very less as you are reviewing the CRS, and from the ratio of falling a defect from LLD to coding, that will be very less as you are reviewing the LLD itself, right? So downfall defect will get reduced because of this proposal of this model, right? The testing proposal of this model. Then comes overall investment is less due to because of the reduced rework, right? So overall investment, if you talk about like whole project investment, uh, so that will be reduced at some extent. Why? Because you are not doing rework as you're testing it, and on every stage the chances of doing rework is very less, okay? But on the other hand, initial investment will be very high. Why? Because we are hiring testers from the day one. When we are collecting the requirement, testers are involved. So basically initially only you have to onboard everyone, and that makes initial investment very high. This disadvantage is that point only, since both developer and tester team are involved from the day one. Not exactly developer we came to an action from designing stage, but yeah, initially you have to involve everyone, and then basically it will like enhance your initial investment to the project. If I want to start a project with a spiral model, or not exactly spiral model, waterfall model, the initial investment will be very less. I need to onboard business analyst and other spokes, but not whole development team and testing team. But here we need both development team and testing team in the beginning of the project itself. Then lot of document is involved. Lot of document is involved is also an advantage when you're working on a huge term project, right? For like 15 months or 18 months, and you have to see after 15th month, you have to see what you have done on the 6th month. Document will help you in order to see through the things what you have done earlier, and in order to learn from your past. If you want to refer a document, documentation will be there. But on the other hand, managing on these type of document will be a little bit tricky. That's why it is considered as a disadvantage. Okay. Application. Now, when to go with this model for long-term project? Since the documentation is involved, this is an advantage. That's what I was saying, that if you are in a long duration process, this document will help you referring the old things. You will not forget old things, right? That's an advantage. Why? Because the documents are involved, and basically parallel development and testing is happening. That's why also long-term project, if you are going through this, that there will be a reduction of the overall time you invested in that particular software development, right? So that's why also it is recommended for a long duration process. When customer wants a high quality product in a shorter duration of time, this is why we can develop a high quality software. Why? Because we are testing each and every stage, chances of getting a defect will be very less, and shorter duration of time. How we are delivering, since development and parallel and testing is happening parallelly, you will end up finishing the project in a very faster way compared to other models, right? So that's why it is saying that customer, if they wants a high quality software in a shorter duration of time, you can go with VNP. Whenever application is complex, better to go with VNV model. Why it is saying that application is complex, better to go with VNV model is that basic idea is that whenever you go for a complex project, right, you need a lot of communication between each other, so that you can understand what exactly they are doing and they can understand what exactly you are testing, right? So this particular whole process, reviewing process, in this reviewing process, if you find anything, you will communicate it to business analyst. If you find anything here, you will communicate to the business analyst. If you find anything here, you will communicate it to the architect. If you find anything here, you will communicate to designer or developer. The communication will be very frequent in between the stakeholders, right, between the folks. So basic idea is that whenever this type of communication is happening, it will basically improve the quality of the software. Since you are discussing it a lot, the chances of getting a defect in a particular portion will be higher. Okay, so if it is a complex project, you will get a better understanding with the communication. There are chances are high to find a like a drawback in the particular software part, and understanding will be in a greater level compared to other model wherein the communication is very less. Okay, got it?
Yes, sir.
Everyone got it? Cool. Coming up to the hybrid model. Hybrid model rule is simple. Hybrid is a combination of two different models, and mostly the one model from two models are mostly prototype. People used to hybrid the model, uh, combining with the prototype model usually, but basically it is not that widely used also. And but it is there in the industry. If someone wants to go through the particular model, is not satisfied with a certain model, and they want to have a new type of model wherein customer is not satisfied, customer is not actually willing to give you the requirement properly, and they are not understanding also what software can do with their business. So basically people go with this particular spiral and prototype hybrid model. And there is one more hybrid model, which is VNV and prototype. So basically the evolution of these two models when customer is basically the combination of spiral and prototype. When the customer is not willing to give the requirement at one go, you have a dependency in the process, and also customer doesn't know what exactly they want. When this kind of requirement you have in your plate, you can go with this hybrid model, although it is not that widely used, not that recommended, but on the other hand, it is there in the industry. People used to follow this type of hybrid model. Secondary, it is a combination of VNV and prototype. Requirement also is a combination of VNV and prototype. When it is a complex project and customer is not aware about the requirement, when you want to test each and every stage, basically it's a long duration project, and you need to document everything. But on the other hand, customer is not sure what exactly they want, then you can go with this model. So basically, if you are combining two models, for an example prototype and spiral, or VNV prototype, it will be combination of everything of that, both the models, right? Advantages and disadvantages will be combined, and requirement will be combined, and basically the flows will be somewhere combined. Okay, so although it is not that practicing in the industry, but you should know what exactly they are, so that you can deliver. If interviewer asks you what is hybrid model, you should be able to answer. Okay, so if you can see it here, everything remains same in this particular hybrid model as spiral model, right? There is a requirement collection stage, there is a designing stage, there is a coding stage, and there is a testing stage. The behavior is same. Like if it is a minor change, you can accept the new feature requirement with that minor change. If it is a major change, you can accept the you cannot accept the new feature requirement with the major change. It is same as spiral model. They have just tweaked the requirement collection stage, and they have introduced here the prototype model requirement collection stage. So when you are collecting one feature requirement, you first of all do the designing and development of prototype of that particular feature, then do the testing of that particular prototype, then do the customer review. Once customer give the review and give more thorough requirement on that particular piece, you will do the designing of that actual software, actual model designing, actual model coding, and actual model testing, like module testing. So you will start working on the actual module here in the designing of the spiral model, in the coding of the spiral model, in the testing of the spiral model, and then deliver it to the customer. Again, one round of review will happen as spiral model says, and then basically this will end. This cycle will end. Then next cycle will start. For an example, now they are doing B. They will give you the requirement of B. You will do the designing and development of B prototype, and then testing of B prototype, then review, get it reviewed by the customer. They will give you more requirement on B. Then you will end up having a designing of actual module of B, and then coding of actual module of B, and testing of actual module of B, and then deliver it to the customer. Customer will again do one round of review of A and B together, and then basically give you the next module requirement. Are we clear on this?
Yes,
Anyone
sir.
has any question? Do I need to repeat in Hindi or something? Anyone? Yes, no, anything, guys? No? Okay. So let's go through the advantages and applications. Basically, application when to apply this hybrid model is basically whenever customer is new to the software, they don't know what software can do with their business, and they give the requirement in stages. Whenever developer are new to the domain, and you have a dependency in the feature. Whenever customer doesn't have any clarity on the requirement itself, basically it's a combined application of VNV and Spiral, and this is how you get to know that you have to go with this hybrid model. VNV and Spiral, Spiral and the prototype model. So it's a combination of Spiral and prototype. And if you're listening your requirement in this way, try to go with Spiral and prototype. Now, this is a question like frequently asked in the class, sir, do we need to decide whether which model need to be followed, or do we have any kind of participation in deciding which model we are following? So no, you don't have any kind of participation initially in the in the testing. Basically, there is very less chance of like participation in this particular kind of meeting by the test leads also. So if you are not a test lead or test manager, usually you don't participate in this kind of meeting, and you don't take up this kind of call whether to take what kind of model. It will be usually done by your project manager and your management. Okay, are we clear?
Yes,
So
sir.
cool. Now VNV and prototype hybrid. So VNV and prototype hybrid is basically the same thing, right? When you just put your prototypes requirement collection stage under VNV requirement collection stage, the rest all remains same. Basically, when you collect CRS, you will review CRS, you will write acceptance test case, you will write acceptance test plan. And when SRS is being developed, fully developed, you will review CRS against SRS, do the system test plan, system test cases, and developer will be busy in developing and designing of the prototype. Right after here, you will test the prototype. Basically, after development and everything, you will test the prototype. You will get the approval from the customer. You will get it reviewed by the customer. Customer will give some more requirement after this. Definitely, they'll give some more requirement. You will accommodate those changes. If you have to do any changes on your test plan and test cases of system and acceptance which you have written earlier, you will do those changes. And then HLD, LLD, coding, unit testing, everything will go as usual as it was going in the VNV model. Okay. Just we have introduced prototypes requirement collection stage here. Under VNV requirement collection stage, everything will remain same. Are we clear in this?
Yes, sir.
Any questions, guys? I'm just not elaborating it thoroughly, as we have just now went through this VNV model. Is it okay?
Yes.
Cool. So basically, uh, right after that we have applications. Because applications भी इसका दोनों के combined ही होंगे, as it is a combination of these two model. Whenever customer is new to the software and application is complex, this is from VNV model and this is from your prototype model. Customer is new to the software, you need to give them the understanding, show them the prototype, that so that they can understand what exactly software looks like and do to their particular business. And application is also complex. They work in a very complex business wherein you need to implement a lot of complex feature. Okay, that time you can go with BNB and prototype, although you don't go with this kind of models. You in these kind of scenarios, basically you go with agile. Because agile, you don't deliver the whole software at a one go. Agile, you deliver software like with some bunch. Like you can tell, like for an example, if you have 100 features, no, you will create the bunch of 7 or 8 features and you will deliver it in 2 to 3 months. Or every 2 to 3 months you will do the release, and you will try to deliver a small bunch of feature to them. They will get to interact with the software anyways after two months, and they will give you the changes after that. So you go with agile rather than going with this PNB model and prototype model, because it will take a lot of time in like kickstarting the actual project. It will take a bit of time, so better to go with agile. Usually that's why most of the models is not being referred. Why? Because agile is like faster way of developing software. Whatever software, like comparing with waterfall model only, if you are developing a software with the help of waterfall model, it is taking 24 months, like 2 years. You can complete the same software with agile methodology, which are with agile model, within 8 to 12 months. Half for the duration you can complete that whole project, um, with the use of that particular process. So that's why it is widely used. Why? Because I'll tell you the mentality of the customers. Customer want the software as soon as possible, because just by having the software in their hand, they will downsize the nothing but their company, and they will start making money out of it. So they will, the comparison of the amount they need to invest in the software versus the returns they are having with that particular software is very high. That's why they want it as soon as possible in their business. So that's what. Or there is another point, there is a lot of competition in the industry right now. If you see that Ola and Uber, Swiggy and Zomato, these are the competitive companies, right? They keep on releasing their own newer version of the software to rule the industry. There is a head to head competition with these companies. So same thing happens with every industry. If they are in the industry, some other companies will be also there in the industry, and they will be competing. So they need the software, they need to release latest things at the earliest, right? So that's why they want to have the software as soon as possible. That's why they used to go with the agile. There is a lot of like profits following agile compared to other model. That's why it is widely used in the industry, right? Somewhere around 80 to 85% or 75% people, like industry projects, are working in agile only. That's why it is also important for you to understand how that workflow happens. Okay. So yeah, so like coming back to this application, whenever developers are new to the domain, customer wants a high quality project. If developer are new to the domain, they will get the understanding with the help of prototype. While developing prototype, they will get the expectation of the client. And also, like customer wants a high quality project. That's why you do the VNV. You test each and every stage. You will end up having very short uh, number of defects. Then comes whenever customer doesn't have clarity on their own requirement. While seeing the prototype, they'll get the understanding of their requirement and where documentation needs to be involved. So basically, for longer duration of project, documentation helps you to like like track back whether what you have done in the earlier period of time. And agile also, like why I'm giving the reference of agile, why? Because the next topic is agile. So here agile doesn't have a lot of documentation, I would say, but on the other hand you will have released software for the reference. You will have some extent of documentation in agile for the reference. Mostly your qa sign off document would be enough in order to understand what you have done in earlier period. Your stories will be there, requirement document will be there in there in agile, so you can refer those documents only and you will be good enough to like track back your work. Okay, so with this, we come to an end of all 5 models. Any questions in earlier model also you can ask. We have bit of time. Anyone?
No, sir.
No? You guys are preparing, right? Everyone is preparing. If I ask some sort of question from the previous topic, you should be able to answer, right?
Yes,
Should I give
sir.
it a try? Okay. Can someone explain defect? What is defect? What is defect life cycle or defect tracking? That process. Anyone?
Sir,
No?
defect is basically a bug which
Okay.
holds the user from proceeding.
That's a blocker bug. What is a defect? Definition of it. Okay, guys, if you are not preparing the definition, start preparing definition. It's necessary. Okay, cool. Then yeah, that's it for today. If no questions, we can wrap it up for today. And if you are not preparing, please do prepare. My job is done. Like I've taught you everything, but if you are not preparing, it doesn't make any sense for taking like 1.5 month classes or something like that. Okay. Best of luck for your future. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.